A lot.
Carol Burnett show.
Oh, yeah, I still love watching that
I
show.
love it.
But I have
7:30, if I remember right.
But I have the tapes, like the bloopers and all that. But the book came out, you know, that she wrote a book. It's hilarious.
Wanted to tell you, I just turned on the episode.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Tammy, when it's 7, we'll call it. Okay. And tonight, all we do is recess. There's no motion to adjourn.
This year.
Yep. Yes, everything. They're all above us and they're on.
Yeah.
Good evening. It's 7 p.m. I will now call the New Milford Board of Education 2024-25 budget hearings to order. We're going to begin this evening with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And you may be seated, and thank you all for coming out. We have our agendas posted, and we do have an outline of how we proceed through our budget. I'm going to begin with, prior to turning it over to Dr. Parlato, a few procedural notes that at the end of this evening, there'll be an opportunity for the public to be heard. Moving into the next 2 evenings, meaning tomorrow night and Tuesday of next week, weather permitting, the public will have an opportunity to begin speaking at the beginning of the meeting and also at the end of that meeting. On the last night, the night of budget adoption, the public participation will be at the beginning of the meeting. That's just for organizational, because I know some do plan around that. Thank you. At this time, Dr. Parlato, if you'd like to run through your presentation, please.
Thank you very much. Just in terms of the order of events for tonight, we'll begin with my proposed 24-25 budget. Then we'll hear from our grades pre-K through 5 principals. And then we will hear from Mr. Giannoni with the Department of General Administration. So that'll be the order of events. Board members and cabinet members should have each of those presentations in a folder, so you can follow along with notes on the hard copy and also the screen. So the purposes of the presentation this evening are obviously to provide an overview of the budget that I'm proposing for 24-25. We're going to talk a lot about fixed costs and how they impact the superintendent's proposed budget. I will explain the need for items and programs that can be deemed controllable versus fixed. Certainly, our conversation, based upon what you see in the presentations, will cause some great dialogue and questions about what our organization needs. And then you will see throughout not only my presentation, but from the schools and departments, the connections between our district priorities and the proposed items. We always begin with our mission statement, which you will also hear from the schools and departments. And so I kind of broke it up a little differently, even though it's the same mission statement, so that it makes a little more sense for all of us to know exactly what we're about. So you can see the highlighted words, especially. So the mission of the New Milford Public Schools, a collaborative partnership of students, educators, family, and community, is to prepare each and every student to compete and excel in an ever-changing world, to embrace challenges with vigor, to respect and appreciate the worth of their human being, and contribute to society by providing effective instruction in a dynamic curriculum, offering a wide range of valuable experiences, and inspiring students to pursue their dreams and aspirations. Underneath that, the new addition this year are ideas that we live by: focus, heart, collaboration, and creativity. Throughout this budget, you will see ideas that are maintained within the mission statement, as well as those ideas that we live by. So I don't expect you to be able to read that, but it gives you a sense of our budget development timeline, which begins in October. So This is not something that just takes 4 weeks or 2 weeks to put together. We begin talking with the schools, talking with the departments. They begin to create their budgets as early as October. We want to make sure that everyone understands our areas of focus. We prioritize our needs. We collaborate together. We make sure that we meet and understand what the schools department needs through discussion. We revise and we review over time. So it is a very careful process. Certainly it is a collaborative process based upon the needs of our schools, the students, and the parents. Our 3 major district goals this year are to support pre-K to 12 students to meet their academic growth targets, to build and strengthen relationships with students, families, and the broader community, and to foster a safe, welcoming, and respectful school climate to support teaching. So as we go on through the year, and as we're measuring our success, those are the goals that we're aiming to. Underneath that umbrella of our district goals are our budget priorities. So the first one you see there is student support. Underneath student support, that is broken down into academics, safety, health, and well-being. And the question related to that is, how do we assist the whole child to meet his or her growth targets? Not only academic growth targets, but making sure we have a safe environment, a healthy one, and that students' well-being is at the forefront of our lives. Our second budget priority is high-quality teaching and learning. The questions related to that: what materials and strategies do we use to maximize student learning? And then, how do we implement new programs, importantly, including mandates, in ways that make sense for our teachers, staff, and students? And our third budget priority is future-focused programming. How do we build opportunities for career and real-world experiences into students' experiences in the Milford Public Schools? I'm going to begin with fixed costs. You'll hear me call that the walking in the door number. As you can see in the right-hand box, fixed costs are required items and elements that carry forward from one year to the next. So as you can see in this chart, beginning with contractual salary for all bargaining units, right there, right out of the gate, is $1 million increase, over $1 million increase. Similarly, contractual benefits for all of our bargaining units, you can see, over $770,000. The bus contract has an increase built into it, which is a $239,000 increase. Our utilities, we build an increase, we collaborate with the town in terms of what percentage we're going to put in for our increase. So that's $53,000. Certainly we carry insurance for workers' comp, for our cybersecurity, and liability for auto and property. That's a $28,000 increase. This year, we're proposing to add 3 agri-science seats. The reason being that the state law requires that you have an average of the last 3 grade 9 classes as a number of seats that you offer in a given year. So when we figured out that, we know that we needed to add 3 seats to the incoming 9th grade, so that we meet the average, which is 8 students, 8 seats for the 9th graders. But of course, since we're adding seats, that comes with an increase. So a total increase of the fixed cost for 24-25, as you can see, is $2.1 million. Again, walking in the door, I'm showing up with things that are required, that carry forward from one year to the next, which equals 3.05%. That's what I call a walking in the door number, and that's what it is. I want to talk to you about the ESSER cliff because this is a very unique year in budgeting. So, as you know, in our nation, school districts receive federal COVID relief funds, and there were 3 rounds of that, ESSER 1, 2, and 3. Here we are at the place where those funds are set to expire on September 30, 2024, meaning that all those funds have to be expended by that date. So in New Milford Public Schools, the current round of ESSER award is ESSER 3. New Milford was awarded $2.5 million in ESSER. So that has to be expended by September 30th, 2023. Part of our spending on ESSER was on positions. So you can see in that third bullet, 13 and a half staff positions are currently being paid for with ESSER funds. So the salary and benefits for 13.5 certified positions did not exist prior to 2021. Those are new positions that were added to the budget following 2021, paid for with grant funding. Well, as you can see, there's the cliff at the bottom, right? We're standing at the edge of the cliff because in September, that money goes away. And so the question, of course, is, what do we do now? So as a reminder to everyone, one of the purposes of ESSER funds was to assist school districts with addressing needs that came from pandemic schooling. For example, there was learning loss, there was incomplete learning, and certainly there are mental health challenges and concerns about student well-being involved. So the big challenge, as I propose to you a 24-25 budget, is that the needs and challenges listed above are not simply going to disappear on September 30th. Those needs are persistent. They still are going on. However, the money from the federal funding is going away. So the question that remains for us, how many of the positions of 13 and a half move from the grant-funded ESSER to the general fund district budget? There's no easy answer. So you will see that over the last several months, we've had to make some difficult decisions about how do we carry forward some, all, none of those ESSER positions over time. So this next slide deals specifically with those ESSER positions. So the positions that are listed on the left-hand side are currently being funded by the grant. As I said, that money disappears on September 30th. So the requests that we have as part of the proposed budget are to move these positions from ESSER grant to the district budget. Out of the 13 and a half positions, the request is that we move 7.5 to the general fund to the district budget. Those positions are, as you can see, and then the center column is how does it connect to the priorities that we have, and the third column is a little bit of justification. Keep in mind, my piece of this is an overview, and then when each of the schools and departments presents, you're going to hear much more about each of these. So 2.0 English language learners teachers aligned to our priority of student support. We have seen a steep increase in English learners in the district. Certified support is needed. So those two positions will come over from ESSER to the district budget. 1.0 Pathways Coordinator, that's connected to future focus programming. Career Pathways, internships, job shadow opportunities, and how we might think about what grade 12 looks like in the future has to be designed and implemented. We currently have that position on ESSER. We're requesting to put it onto the general fund. 2.0 grades K through 8 curriculum specialists, one for math and one for reading language arts. That aligns to our priority of high quality teaching and learning. So I could write a whole 3 slides on this. So in sum, we have new math curriculum, and we have a mandated change to our reading curriculum that was part of state legislation. Truly, those new curricula require expert support and guidance for consistent teaching across the grades. So we need somebody to shepherd that work, and including those curriculum specialists for grades K through 8 in math and reading language arts will help our cause to support not only high quality teaching and learning, but also student achievement over time. 1.0 nurse is currently carried on ESSER. Of course, it aligns to student support, and that is for a specific student need. A 0.5 in-school suspension monitor. So 0.5 of that position is already in the general fund, and then we pay for the other half from ESSER. So I'm proposing that we put the other half into the general fund. That is for student support. It allows us to provide consistent consequences and assistance for students, and then school got cut off, and we should say connection to school. 0.5 preschool teacher, again, connected to student support. And there's an increase in severity of student needs. We have, of course, students in the preschool. We both have our community friends, but also students with IEPs. And that preschool teacher will help to address the severity of these needs. A 0.5 student school counselor. we see an increase in the number and severity of mental health and academic needs. 0.5 of that counselor is already in the general fund. We're requesting to move the other 5.5 in there as well. So those are 7.5 positions out of the 13 and a half that exist on the grant. And the cost for the salary and benefits for those 7.5 individuals is $641,130. We have a few more requests, and these are outside of ESSER. So we have school security officers in our schools. So at the high school in Scottsbluff, we have school resource officers. At our other schools, we have school security officers, also armed individuals. We looked at the pay rates for the surrounding areas. We realized that our pay rate was a little low compared to the others around us. So we're proposing to increase their pay rate from $25 an hour to $30 an hour. Obviously, that connects to student support and also to the safety of our schools. And when we have competitive pay, it allows us to have more stable employment, so people don't have to jump to another town to get more money. So the overall cost of that is $18,000. Athletics and field trip transportation. So that connects to student support. It also connects to high quality teaching and learning. So we have learned the hard way that we can't always have our current bus company have staffing for our athletic competitions and for our field trips. And so we have to go to outside vendors to get that transportation. And so there's, obviously, I don't want to call it price gouging, but you do pay a pretty penny for those outside vendors to give us charter buses. And you can see the cost there of $54,505. In a way, also, that's a little bit of a price for success. So many of our teams go deep into the states, into the tournaments. And so, we're happy to see them do that. And we're so proud of our students when they do that, but it does come with an athletic cost. We're proposing to add 2 programs to the high school. One is to have a certified nursing assistant program, which used to exist. So that students will graduate with a certified nursing assistant, the actual certification, they'll sit for the exam. And then we'd also like to add an emergency medical technician program, so students graduate as a licensed EMT. And we can do that through Rockton Valley Community College. They provide us with the instructor. That, of course, connects to our future focus programming and our pathways at the high school. And the overall cost for that is $60,000. There are some increases to out-of-district placement tuition, and when Ms. Olson presents next week, she'll explain more about that. But just like with many things, there is inflation, and tuition costs rise, and you can see the dollar amount associated with that increased tuition in terms of students being placed out of district. Non-bargaining unit employee salaries and benefits. So, for example, I'm a non-bargaining unit employee. Those are people who are not in a union, they're non-bargaining unit. So overall, increases to their salary and to their benefits, and that's not all for me, $83,959. And then other expenses come from many, many different lines. So legal, instructional supplies across the schools. I mean, it would be tens upon lines to tease that out. But in all cases, it connects to student support and high quality teaching and learning. And overall, if you look at those other increases, that's about $175,000. So those are 2 slides of the request. One, let's go back just so you know. One is from ESSER to the district budget. So those are the grant funding decisions going to the general fund. And these are other requests that we're making. These things are not connected to the grant. These are just requests that we're making to support our organization, as well as making sure that we continue to grow and support our students in the teaching and learning that happens. So those are the 2 request slides. So if I kind of break down those requests for you, the fixed costs, the things that are I'm walking in the door with, they carry over from one year to the next. There's an increase associated with it, such as contractual increases, benefit increases. So there is 3.05% of an increase over the 23-24 budget, and you can see the dollar amount associated. The requests from the slides that I just showed you, both from ESSER to the general fund and then other requests, are a 1.41% increase. So the total increase with fixed costs and with the other requests, both ESSER and non-ESSER, is a 4.4% increase, 4.46% increase over the 23-24 budget. And you can see the total employee budget amount there in the last year. So that's just to give you an idea of what is the impact of the requests that we're making in this proposed budget upon the budget itself. So keep in mind, you're carrying forward or requesting carrying forward 7.5 of the 13.5 positions that are funded on the grant. If I carried forward all 13 and a half, that would put the budget for 7%. That's just a slight information. I do want to show you, so these are the positions that are currently funded in the grant, but they are not going over to the district budget. So in essence, these things are being used. So we are currently employing 4.0 reading and math interventionists for grades K to 5. Obviously, that's supporting student academics, so we're not carrying those forward. Those are going to disappear. Same thing for a 1.0 English language arts coordinator for grades 6 through 12. Obviously, that supports high quality teaching and learning and student support. That position is disappearing. 1.0 school counselor, that fully carried out ESSER, not coming over. Obviously, that's for student support, both academic and mental health. So the total is 6.0 certified positions that are funded by the grant that are being reduced. We're not putting those into the general fund. Here are some other reductions that we've considered over time. So these are already existing positions. These are real people who exist and who work. So we're reducing 2.0 certified teachers in grades 6 through 12. So that's a reduction of about $200,000. We're making a reduction of 3.5 instructional tutor positions. To that line is a reduction of $81,000. We're reducing 2 of our placeholders for out-of-district tuition and transportation. So in our budget, often we build in placeholders because we don't know from one year to the next how many students are going to end up out-of-district placed. So we do have some placeholders in there. And so I'm reducing 2 of those. And the cost of that for tuition and transportation is $240,000. And then from the technology equipment line, I reduced $40,000. So from the existing 23-24 budget, I'm reducing $561,494. In addition to the 6 positions who are currently working here for the grant, those positions are going away. I know sometimes people wonder, what did you say no to? One of the hardest parts, of course, to my job is I want to say yes to all the things the school is asking for because no one's asking for anything that doesn't have a lot of value and a lot of merit to our organization. So this is a list of some of the things that were asked for that I said no to. So you can see that across the board, so they're mostly certified staff that was asked for. 1 social work coordinator stipend, and 3 home monitors would be non-certified staff. But those are things that I said this year we just can't get those in if we're looking to put forth a responsible budget. That doesn't mean they're not worthy. It doesn't mean they're not valuable. It just means you have to make a really tough decision and have a hard conversation about that. So the summary points, I will tell you, because as you know, I come from other districts, not that many, but some. Our process truly is honest and transparent and thoughtful. We have very specific, very courageous, very honest conversations about how we budget here. The budget book is very, very detailed, very, very clear. It tells you the story of how we spend our dollars here. And I really applaud that. And it really should be a point of pride for the board and for our town because it's truly an honest work of art. As always, my job is to balance addressing the needs of our district and also demonstrating fiscal responsibility. It's important to note that student needs are persisting and continue to increase, even with a slight decrease in enrollment over time. So if you think of it one way, the needs are going up, the severity of the needs is going up, even though the enrollment is decreasing slightly. We have some momentum, that is exciting, for sure. And maintaining that momentum and continuing to grow and improve is part of what we do, and something that we want to continue to do. And certainly maximizing our staffing for the greatest return on the community's investment. So you can see the tightrope that's being walked there, including the district logo, I'm sure. So that's just, I had to keep that in there. And then the last slide you can see, that's not a throwaway slide. So those are our 5 schools from the air when I was lucky enough to go to the helicopter that time. And it's, you know, it just gives you such a majestic sense of our schools, and really what we're about as an organization. So that's the overview of my budget. I would be remiss if I didn't thank not only the cabinet members, certainly, but the administrators who are very, very hard work in thinking about this budget and putting forth fair and responsible and thoughtful ideas. So I have to thank them for that. That's really the entire overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carlotto. Thank you.
We're gonna take, we need 30 seconds to switch over. And then we're gonna have our elementary principals present.
Great.
I don't know what you wanna do, questions, Mrs. Fallenbach?
Here's how we'll do it. Will you still be using this?
We'll have it up for sure.
Okay, for any other?
Oh, yeah.
Great, perfect, because I don't want to sit in front of it. That's the whole point. So perfect, that's great. Questions. So I think what we should do, it's the board's pleasure, of course, is that after each presentation, we'll open it up for questions from board members, and we'll address those accordingly. I also would like to mention that if board members forget to ask a question, have an afterthought, send them in. We'll make sure that they're addressed both publicly and to the rest of the board. We want to make sure those questions are answered. We do have extra copies of this slide presentation, is that correct?
That's right.
Mayor, we'll get that to you. We'll get that to the town council as well. And we'll get that to any member of the public to make sure that they have that. It's a very good overview, Dr. Parlato, and I think the more information that we can put out there in the dialogue, the better. So thank you for that. So we're ready to go at any time?
Okay, 5.
Sure.
Can I ask a
Absolutely. Before we do,
Yes.
absolutely, Brian.
Well, I just, I was looking on page 5 in the budget book where you have that nice summary of
That was from the letter. If I don't have it in front of me, I'll get it, yes?
and I just have a question. And I think I saw it later in the presentation, but honestly, it's not. But do we still have math and reading coaches in elementary and the middle school?
Yes.
And how many do we have in each?
Total number of coaches, Ms. Hollander will answer that better than I can. There are 4 at the K-5 level. There's 1 at 6.
Thank you for that, Brian. And before we go into the presentations, absolutely, Sarah, go ahead.
A couple questions, Dr. Parlato. Our request for 24-25, the Pathways Coordinator,
Yes,
is that a paid as a teacher?
that's in the teacher's contract, correct.
What would that person's day look like? I mean, are they pretty much, they're not working with students, I gather? It's more of a organizational?
Actually, they do work with students on things like interviewing skills, especially if students are going out into the workforce or into an internship or to any kind of job shadowing that he sets up for them. So yeah, there is student contact.
It's a school counselor position, so that's
Oh.
helping them with the career readiness.
The certification is for a school as a school counselor, but serves as a pathways coordinator as the primary aspect of the job.
Sure, go ahead.
And I think I saw, what I read earlier today, that the extra nurse, the additional nurse, I should say, was
Yes.
for the transitional,
Correct.
the max.
Yes.
Has it been a problem not having a nurse there full-time?
It's a student who might need that support, yes, that support might have been emerging. And so now it's necessary.
And the,
You understand why I'm being careful about that? 'Cause I
yeah,
don't wanna,
absolutely. No, I understand.
divulge the confidentiality.
And the half school counselor, the bottom one, which school would that be at?
0.5.
School
coming over to
counselor?
the, yeah, that's coming to Sarah.
Town
It already exists. We're paying half of it in general fund, half of it in schools.
But that's where that position is.
It is that Sarah Noble?
Correct, okay.
Yep.
Thomas next, and then Dean?
In regards to you mentioned reducing 2 placeholders for the placement.
Correct.
How many does that leave?
We answered that better off the top of my head. So, we have some for private schools and some for public schools, but there are still 5 left.
Is that in line with? That's not a risk.
It's
is.
a-
It
it's
is
a
risk.
slight risk. If I'm assuming any risk in this budget, it's right there.
And I'm sure this is going to come up in the special education portion of this. I think your question probably, I'm guessing, is what do we have calculated in this year's budget? Is that fair to say?
There are placeholders that exist in
yes.
this budget.
Sure, no.
Yes, we know. But we're going to go through that conversation, but it is a reduction from this year's budget, for sure.
Yes.
And my understanding is if those two placeholders and we haven't accommodated them, we will find money in our operating budget to fund it, because that's law. We're mandated to do it.
Of course, yes.
That's why it's a risk, so.
And Dean, you know?
You had mentioned that on the Howell request, the additional $1 million, that increase to out-of-district placement tuition.
Yes.
Someone's gonna go-
Yes.
Mrs.
Put you
Olson
on the
is going to
spot.
Yes.
explain in her presentation how that works.
Okay, I have a quick question. Do we have a number of for the students that are placed in our district?
Are there students that pay tuition to us? Yes. We can get that number for you. Yes. That actually, when Anthony goes over the revenues in a little while.
Captured there.
It's there, yeah. Yes, oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. And we're talking about all revenue for all tuition, right, Dean? We'll break that down. Absolutely. Okay. And we'll get that if we can't get it tonight, but absolutely. Who else?
I think Eric had a question.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead. Keep going.
For the reduction in the tutors,
Yes.
special tutors, were they being fully utilized or?
One of the challenges that we've had, and I know that even in this current year, is we had a very difficult time finding certified teachers to take the tutor position because they were either, there were none to be had, or they were finding jobs like the next week. So it was hard to staff that.
Okay, so it's not a educational loss to the students.
It's always an educational loss to the students if you don't have one-on-one help, but if the people don't exist, we can't.
It's a
magically-
foregone conclusion, because they didn't exist. Okay.
Yep,
And then another, with the school-based help,
yes.
they were taking a good amount of the extra funds. I don't see that.
So that's, yes. So in terms of how it's carrying over into the general fund,
Yes.
so the mental health component of that is covered by the organization, that Connecticut Institute for Families, CIFC.
Yeah.
So that, the money that we had to ask for was for the construction of the medical piece, and that part of it we didn't.
Okay, so there'll be no public funds spent on that?
That is, the only thing is, if they bill us for a secretary to help with the clerical piece of the insurance, that would be, but the clinicians are covered.
Can I expand on that? Because this came up, and when this first brought into this district, and I believe this board did have questions, what would that look like in the future? Cost and all of that. So maybe at some time we could have a breakdown of how the school-based health centers are, if there are any costs and what they are in a more detailed fashion. Would that help, Eric? In this
Yeah,
budget?
that would. What I want to make sure of is that doesn't become a taxpayer-funded medical. If
No,
it's
we don't have any
self-funded,
plans
that's
for that.
one thing. But,
We have no plans for that.
all right. That's Good. And I got one more question.
Yeah, so I would say we give them the space, so there's a cost for the space. But the clinicians come to us, and the only thing that we pay for is the clerical, because there is billing of insurance, because those clinicians bill the family's insurance.
Oh, so we give them the space for free. And pay for their heat and electric.
Well, it's in the school.
Okay. And then for the English language learners,
Yes.
we're increasing the number by 2. What rate do the English language learners move out of that program? Say once someone comes in first grade, they've been here for 5 years, we have a group of people coming in now who need it. Maybe we can move some people out when we move people in. Is that happening, or are we just adding?
Yes, so the goal is to make sure the students are as proficient as they can be in English, and so, yeah, the goal is to move them out.
Yeah.
But the thing is that students are coming in, so it's like a little bit of a wash, right? So we're getting students coming into our district who need English language support, especially students who have very little English at all. And then some of them are, if there's an increase in the students who are coming in.
Okay. And so.
And that's when Ms. Hollander presents, she has a whole chart.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, because that was one of my concerns is if they're going to, if they don't need to be in there anymore, we should be moving them out.
Oh, for sure. So there's a test, there's an assessment that we give students who are English learners, and they have to meet a certain level. And that's how you judge their progress in the program.
And that could happen at any point. It doesn't just happen at graduation.
So a student could move out of English language services at any time in their career, because if they reach a certain level on the assessment that we give them,
Yes, every year.
Yeah, they do.
yes, they have to.
They have to. And before I call on you, Sarah, if I may, on the overview, I encourage these questions and we're going to do them. But I would also imagine there'll be more data as we go through the budget process. And if they're not answered, we'll get them. Sarah, go ahead.
Just a couple of thoughts. I'm really concerned about losing 4 reading and math interventionists and tutors, but we're adding more curriculum specialists. As a teacher, I always felt like I'd rather have the money going toward the direct work with the students. And I know that there have been major changes to what we're teaching in math. I know the reading is in-house, Holly. I question the need to have 2 more people at that level who are going to try to coordinate with coaches and all that, and yet that we're losing interventionists and tutors. That really concerns me.
So one of our plans moving forward is that the coaches will begin to take on some interventionist roles. So they're not only coaches, they'll take, because we're losing some of those coaches. So adding some interventionist to coaches is part of the plan. What I would say to your question is that we don't have much of a curriculum infrastructure here. Somebody who's got to shepherd the work. And while the reading is being created in-house, the implementation in the classroom is a real mental shift in the way that you have to teach reading, which is different than most of the teachers that we have who are not trained that way. And so having the coaches allows them to support with lessons, to provide model classrooms. Ms. Hollander certainly those things that are in great detail. But it's somebody's got to be the one to oversee and help that.
Are they using now in 7th and 8th grade?
Sure.
That's the work that we're doing right now with the 618. We've talked a lot about the K-5, and then we presented our pathways to be able to accelerate. So with that is we need to look at the sequencing and coherence of the 6-8, so that students are ready for that 9th grade experience, either in 8th grade or in 9th grade itself. So there has been, just looking at the data, a disconnect. So we've had to really work at realigning that. Acceleration doesn't necessarily mean complete understanding of, so there's a long task to sort of analyze that. So that work is being done in 6th grade right now, and then moving forward with 7th grade with teachers participating in that.
Are they
budget we want to create. We haven't gotten there. We're really looking at listening to the teachers, looking at the data, and seeing what the 5th grade coming to 6th grade will see at some point in already. Data share, we see an impact positively moving forward. So we've been really thoughtful about that, but we meet regularly as a K-12 math team.
I forgot to mention that there are still interventionists in the general fund. So this is not eliminating interventionists altogether. We have always carried them in the wisdom budget. These were the ones that were added through this year.
And because we had conversations, as every other municipality, the ESSER cliff and what happens when that ends, that's how you identified it. But we still have those in the general fund.
There are interventionists.
Yes.
K-8
Got
that
it.
exist in the general fund.
Okay.
Yep. I understand what you're saying, Sarah. I also think that interventionists are helpful, but the curriculum that all the kids are also experiencing has to be aligned. You know, we have to be all rowing in the same direction in order to help the interventionists. And who is there to do that?
Well, we used to do a lot of it. We were taken out of, class for the day, and worked with Peggy Neal and other people, and did all first with Common Core, and did every day, then, so I just wondered, what they were using now and what they were actually going to do as far as changing the relationship.
Any other questions on the presentation? And then we'll start breaking it down. And remember, we can always open it up at any time. So we can begin that, sure.
So at this time, we will have our K-5 administrative team come up and present. Mrs. Gallagher, you can look here, yeah, well, you just sit back, I'll give you the head. Mrs. Gallagher, Mrs. Calabrese, Mrs. Phillips. Thank you.
They might be able to be heard better because apparently people online are saying that it's hard to hear at the microphone.
From here?
Yes, but at the table, people are able to hear.
Because of the mics over.
Yeah, so it might be best if they did sit at the table, they might be able to be heard better.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
I spoke to him.
Good evening.
All right. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thanks for being here.
And we're hoping our presentation goes well. We're going to give Jeff a little sign if it's not working the way we hope it's going.
Is that when the mics go off?
All of a sudden it got quiet, yeah.
All right, so again, thank you very much. We're here to present the pre-K to 5th grade budget, and we're going to work together as a team.
Perfect.
As you heard Dr. Pilato say, well, first of all, I'll also echo the thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. It's an honor to speak to our schools and spend some time. But as you heard from Dr. Pilato, everything we do, we start with this mission statement, and we try and connect everything we do to it. And I think you'll see over the next slides that everything comes back to this is who we are, this is what we do.
I'm going to interject also, because I forgot to say this as well. So one of the best parts of the way that we do budget here is that it allows us to showcase the work of schools. So that's one of the, so not only are they going to tell you about their budget, but they're showcasing their really wonderful work. So it's very exciting.
So again, like my colleague said, I'm so excited to be here and sitting in this seat, and to be able to present to the community and you. Echo what Dr. Pilato said, we live by our 4 ways: focus, collaboration, creativity, and heart, and we do this daily. Our teachers and staff working very hard to implement this. So at Hill and Plain, our budget overview, we have 35.95 staff members, and as of October 1st, 2023, it was 384 students, and we project 396 students next year. That breakdown, Excel, our preschool program, we have currently students 5.8 in the class, so that will be 7.8 next year, and we have 2.5 teachers. And then kindergarten, little less than 18.2, but that would remain 6 teachers.
And always the question is, who's that point to?
Commercial kid.
There's 1.5 kids, so it's that 0.5 kid we don't have. So anyways, to go through Northville's numbers, we have 40.85 staff members on board. Our projected enrollment for next year is 434 students. And then break down each grade level. When we go down the class size, they're going to pretty much stay the same. So currently we have, in kindergarten, we're going to have 8 classes again with 16. Right now it's currently 16.5. It's going to be 16.1. Pretty much the same class size. It's going to be 16, 17. In first grade, we've got 7 classroom teachers. This year it's about 19 per class. Next year it'll be 18, 19 per class. And in second grade, the numbers will pretty much stay the same also. There's 19 in a class, and next year will be 19 in a class, and 7 teachers. So we're pretty much on par.
Following my colleagues, our projected budget this year is, enrollment is for 747 students at this time we expect. We do have an anomaly at Sarah Noble that our 4th grade is significantly somewhat smaller than our 3rd and our 5th grade. And so that allows us the opportunity to slide in teachers from 4th grade to another grade level. So next year we're planning on 13 teachers at 3rd grade, or 19-ish in each of those classes, and in 4th grade and 5th grade we would then have 11 teachers, so 21.5 in 4th grade and 23.5. So, you know, we have 1,500-ish students between the 3 schools, and we have a myriad of staff, and there's a lot of good work. So our intention is to bring some of that work off the pages here and bring it to life and show you a little peek into our schools and the work that's happening.
I think I got it. In 2 pieces. This is
Okay, I'm going to say the word, you're going to check.
You know, you've heard before, about phonological awareness. So that's students being able to recognize and manipulate sound. That sound big words, that written piece, that phonics piece. And so each day, our teachers are teaching consistently, and we're actually seeing such improvement in our students reading, spelling, writing, those words that come together after they hear those sounds, and they're able to write.
Okay.
Yep. So then UFly is the phonics program. So we built phonological awareness is the sound, phonics is when you put those letters into the sounds. So UFly is a program that we have now this year, and there's different parts to the lesson each day. So there's phonics awareness, just like it's the iteration of that Haggerty program. It's also a visual drill, so you're seeing it. The students are seeing it. Auditory drill, they're hearing. Blending drill, they're bringing those sounds together. New concept, you know, maybe it's an OA together, those 2 vowels, what sound do we make when they go together? Word work, irregular words, and then connecting text. So you see the teacher up there, it's almost like a poem that connects, and students are able to then identify what letter blends, or letters that are working together. They're able to identify it in those connected texts. So also UFly, our budget includes the materials for this program that include magnetic boards.
The pig is in the
name tags
mud.
And and this is what they're using to manipulate those sounds with the soundboard, and they move those magnets up on the leaves and the letters.
Let's see, the pig is in the mud. Nice job. Ooh, good job. The pig is in the mud. What do we put at the end of our
I know,
sentence?
it's
Let's see it.
So just so you know, as you can tell, the pig was in the mud was a kindergarten class, and then all the way to the right are some fourth grade doing where they're doing manipulation. They're using the word then, and they're saying he changes word to 10, and they're having to read letters. So a lot of work with whiteboards and stuff like that, and handwriting has also incorporates that. So the Science of Reading, as you know, is a state initiative that Mrs. Hollander has been doing a lot of work with and bringing to the board's attention. So, you know, this is where our reading work is focusing on the 5 pillars of reading. It's reading awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. You're going to notice on the left, that that's your kindergarten student reading a quotable text, and the other students practicing our words. So these are all part of the work that we're doing. Science of reading every day. And our super readers on the right, they have their superpowers and just have a mask on to read. So part of the Science of Reading, talking about the ELA coordinator and coaches, that is providing us, their work is providing us with strong tier 1 instruction. So the work of the coordinator is really helping our teachers become masters on this new science of reading, understanding the brain and how it works, and all these different pieces of reading to make the whole student that creates it. So their work is in support of the students, providing the teachers and giving them great, strong tier 1 support that will help them in their reading. And the coaches are in there each and every day modeling, working with teachers and helping them become experts in the reading field. You'll see here the Board of Education honored our Science of Reading Masterclass team with their reviewing revisions of our grades 8 and 3 reading curriculum, and they incorporated a focused art collaboration and group techniques and literacy work. So their work is really broad as far in the upper right corner. You can see, they did some meeting with the staff on phonics and stuff like that. And so there's some powerful things coming out of it that really impacting our tier 1 instructors.
Especially because we know if students are not reading at grade level by grade 3, it is nearly impossible for them to catch up. So that instruction must be sterling, must be right on point.
So I know over the years you've seen the triangle, talked about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 schools. This is actually our iReady scores. So we are in our second administration of iReady for winter. And this is just Hill and Plain, looking at fall scores and then the winter. Just mind you, there's only 230 students at this point. When I pulled this data out of 361 that have taken the test. So if we look at fall compared to winter, just the red, that's our tier 3, and that's our at-risk students. We went from 11% to 8%, so we're diminishing that. Tier 2, that's our, we went from 67% to 44%, and then our tier 1, which is on grade level, we went from 22% to completing this year. Right now, we're at 48%. So whatever the teachers are doing, many of them using it.
And so again, here we go again, here's more Phil's data. Again, we don't have them all complete yet, but but we went from thinking about our coaches and in there helping our teachers get that good, strong tier 1 support. We're seeing that impact here. 27% up to 57% of our students are taking the test up on grade level, which is great because then we bring down the number of kids that are in tier 2 that might be doing extra small instruction. Went from 68 down to 41, and then those kids that are at risk went from 5% down to 2%. So the work we're doing with the interventions with the coaches, with our classrooms,
I love the word impact that Seattle used because one of the things that's really amazing is that we're seeing it in all 3 grades. This one is really helping. Again, these are not all the students haven't finished the diagnostic yet, but we're seeing that our tier 3 students have reduced from 12% to 10%. Tier 2 is reducing from 22% to 14%. in tier 1, those grade level students where we want to see them, that nice green chunk there, has risen from 67 to 76%. So, and one of the things that I take part in is, even though they haven't all finished the winter assessment yet, children that do poorly tend to finish quickly. It's getting hard, they're moving fast, so this gives me, I'm really excited about these results because I feel like the kids who are going to be in the red, we see most of the kids already. So that tells me that by the time everybody finishes, I expect that this trend will continue. So we're really excited about that, and I'm really excited to see all three schools are experiencing that. We're reducing the red, if you will, and the green as well, which is exactly what we think.
I think what Angela said was it's a diagnostic tool, so it's really nice because when we do see the kids in any of these areas, we can really dive down deep and say, okay, where are they struggling? We can say in the phonics, where are they? And then we can target where they are, find their true hold and emphasis on all of them. So we're seeing so this also is a part of the budget we can ask them to teach with our
Speaking of iReady, on to iReady Mathematics, and this is a brand new curriculum, and it is a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift for everybody to teach. The way we're teaching is different, the materials are different, everything is different for a teacher, and likewise for the students, everything is different. It's really been a group effort. The curriculum coordinators and the coaches are ensuring that we're not building the plane in front of the students. We're building the plane with the teachers and helping the teachers really understand the new units, unpacking the units before we teach them, all of everything down on the program, so that when they're in front of the students, they are on point, ready to go. And I think it's showing. I think we're seeing great results in mathematics. There is a lot of focus on mathematical language and explaining your thinking, and we're seeing students being able to talk. We have several examples here where students are explaining how they solve something to their peers and talking through their thinking, and that really, in order to talk through a problem, you're really showing a deeper understanding. We're really proud of our students and how much they're able to articulate their learning.
This one, maybe we'll go through this one so you can just see some of their kids' thought processes as a second grader. Yeah, also technology being used.
Amazing.
This is a fifth grade student who's breaking down a work problem, and then she kind of drew it, she mapped it out, then she solved it, and now she's explaining it to her peers in her class. And there's another example of students using manipulatives, and
62 minus 20 is 43. But I couldn't take a line 4, because I only have 3, which I had to trade this for 10 minutes.
in addition to that type of talking, kids are working in pairs and groups, explaining their thinking to each other. And I think there's so much value in that discourse when you see it's really resonating with kids and helping their understanding.
So again, sorry, it's all right. So again, we're taking the preliminary data from our iReady. This is 274 students out of 361. Our tier 3, the at-risk students, we went from 21% to 8%. So that's a nice, that red's making it smaller is very nice for our eyes. Tier 2, 68 to 67%, but the tier 1, which is on grade level, we went from 12 to 25%.
Up at Northville, we went, we'll start at the bottom. We went from, because it's the strong tier 1, we went from 12% up to 29% on grade level, 75% in tier 2 to 68, and then our at-risk was at 14% of our kids, and now it's at 30%. It's nice numbers.
Again, it's our number, we're seeing the same trends. Our tier 1 students are growing, they're growing from 67 to 76%. Our tier 2 is from 20% down to 13%, and tier 3 from 13% down to 11%. Again, not all the students are done, but again, we feel confident that this is the trend because the kids struggle and so this is very encouraging for us, and we're excited about these results.
So we want to talk about the academic interventions that we have going on. We do have the intervention center for students. But we may be increasing them because of the ESSER funds. You know, if we get that strong tier 1 going on, then we're going to have less that are tier 3 area. So as they work with kids, the interventionists work with the students either in tier 2 support, where they're taking them out, they're in a large group, 3 times a week, it's about 50% of the students are in tier 2 support. And then typically that's a lot of the classroom teacher does the tier 2, sometimes it makes an intervention setting tier 2 work with our students. And then the tier 3 students sometimes they pull out in small groups, 1 to 3 group, and they see them each day. It's about 5% of the students, and they're there daily. We use the SIPS program. Sorry, no, I always do. I say stuff all the time. They use SIPs and for their reading, and then they do math intervention for first graders. The first picture here are students using coding strategies to read a story with support from the interventionist. In the middle, students are reviewing their letter sounds with the interventions, and then on the third picture, on the right part, the students are segmenting the sounds and reviewing words with the intervention support. So of course, we have videos of kids working. So we're going to see a 4th grader working with math support. There's a picture of him with the Bridges program. And then in the middle is our tier 3 group with SIPs. Again, they utilize the computers because the program with SIPs allows them to do graphic slides with the kids.
We use acronyms. We're so good at throwing acronyms around. No, and I looked it up because SIPS, I was like, what does it stand for? Systematic Instruction in Phonological Awareness, phonics and support. So it's those foundational skills that we've been working on.
We also know that
So the MTSS, we say, it used to be SRBI, that's the multi-tiered systems of support. And we pulled all of our data together. So ELA, that's that reading, phonics, phonological awareness, 78% of our K-2 tier 3, those are at-risk students, literacy students will meet their 6th goal by the end of the year. That's what the projection is due to the data. And then 81% of grades 1 through 5 are tier 3 students. They'll meet their 6th goal by the end of the year. And then in math, 84% of grades 3 through 5, tier 3 math students will meet their intervention goal by the end of the year. We didn't include grades K through 2. Gwen and I share an interventionist right now. She was new to us just a couple of months ago, so she's in her first cycle with MTSS. So we have her.
So it's my pleasure to talk about related services, which really speaks to that social emotional learning for students. It is an area that is growing all the time. Children need a lot of support in this regard. So related services are a group of talented people that aren't teachers but are school counselors, are social workers, are school psychologists, and they help support students their social and emotional needs in lots of ways. They push into classes, they have lunch groups, they see kids in small groups, and in the guidance lessons in K2, they use the Choose Love program, and at Sarah Noble, they teach guidance lessons as well that really focus on social regulation that help children manage emotions through any frustration, any emotion that you might have. How do you manage that? How do you behave in that moment? And how do you return to feeling regulated and where you want?
Breath sounds like this. As you breathe in, I want you to imagine someone giving you a gift. And then when you exhale, we're going to whisper it by in. So maybe you're going to imagine yourself giving her a gift. Probably else is a gift, right? But you can accept a gift even if it's just
And so this is just another slide, but a adorable video that we're going to show you in a second. Your children are speaking in affirmations about themselves. They're starting to learn about what might your strength be, and what do you bring to school each day, and what are you proud about yourself. And they're looking at, you can't tell what they have in their hands. They have hand mirrors. They're looking at themselves and about to share an affirmation.
And this is one of our lunch bunches. So the counselors do meet with the kids, not only during the guidance class, but we do lunch bunches.
You're a girl. Look at yourself in the mirror. Say thank you to something that makes you you. Thank you for the green eyes. Thank you for my family. Thank you for my tallness. Thank you for being strong and almost being strong enough to lie in my own house. Thanks for the purple.
So in terms of the overall budget, if we look at Milford and Milford, we're covering both at around 6%. And Sarah Noble is around 9%.
So, supporting our budget ensures that we're going to continue our work with the science of reading, our iReady mathematics program, academic interventions, our social emotional supports, which again, Dr. Carlotta said, which aligns with our goal of getting at or all of our students at or above grade level achievement. That will align with the mission.
Every single day, everything we do is really centered around the whole child. So we'll focus on what they're learning that day, but also helping them build skills so that they're ready to learn in the future, ready to learn next week at the grade level, ready to learn in 2 years at that grade level. And so all of those components that you see up there are something that we're focused on all day long to help the entire child learn and develop.
So circle back from where we started, we live by the focus, collaboration, creativity,
So this is built upon the foundation of a strong foundation, especially at the pre-K 5 area. Give them a strong foundation so that they're ready to move on. And this is all we can do in partnership with our community. So thank you. So, Jeff.
Oh, that's video. That's one.
We have to, after, if you don't mind.
No, it's really, yeah, it is required.
It's required.
Required viewing, yes.
Learning.
Yes.
So,
It is required.
all right, hold on 1 second. You don't have it?
See video on.
No, there was one at the end. ready to, I promise.
Great. Thank you. So, thank you very much. I speak for the entire board and community. It's super important to have our staff and our administrators here. And we value that. We thank you for that very, very much. What I'd like to do is we're going to go to the budget.
I do have a question about just on the slides really quickly.
We can, absolutely, and then we're going to open it up to budget pages as well. So, please.
And this may be adjusted or explained there, but the one thing that caught my eye, and it's on 1, 2, 3, the 5th slide. This is the Northville Elementary School budget overview. The breakdown of the class sizes. Preschool is at 15.6 with 2.5 teachers, yet Hill and Plain is at 7.8. That seems to be a big difference in size of classes.
You're looking at on the slide presentation
On
or
the
in the
slide
budget?
presentation, yep, on the slide, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, it's the 5th slide in.
And what is it in the budget book?
Oh my gosh.
Page 13 is NES.
Yes, and 7 is in, is 7
So is this to understand that each of these classes is holding 15.6 students, yet at Hill and Plain, the classes are holding 7.8? 7.8.
What slide are you looking at?
5th slide. If you go to the 5th slide in this presentation.
Second page.
Second page, the bottom. Second page, there's.
Should be the same.
Should be the same.
You know what, it's probably a typo.
Yeah, it should be the same.
It probably is.
Yeah, because I
Just fell in our
didn't remember
that's
seeing
it.
that in the budget book, but I saw it on the presentation. I'm like, that's a little
The
different.
first thing I did was went to the classroom size.
Okay, that's good, thank you. That's the only
Probably
question I
a
have.
typo on my side.
That is, okay, nope, I'm happy. Happy it's a mistake, okay.
Okay. Absolutely. Wait, you ready?
Are you grabbing the other one?
Yes.
They want to show this video and you're next, Dean. It's all yours, Dean.
Quick question for you. And I apologize. I'm trying to understand the difference. You say here that you're trying to get the students at or above level. I guess that's for iReady. How does that differ from the states? Trying to get this understanding how we're doing at the state level until we measure up, as opposed to how we measure up with iReady. Is there a difference at all? Is there? I just think so. I don't understand.
iReady to other states doing iReady?
Smarter balanced. So the connection between iReady and the standardized test from the state.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes.
So
ahead.
For SBAC, our SBAC score.
That's Smarter Balance, which is the assessment.
Yes, another acronym, yes, the Smarter Balance. iReady does give us a projection, so the trending is really good right now because the projection is that we're getting much stronger. Our Smarter Balance last year, for instance, our math scores, we really underperformed math. That's what, I don't want to speak for Mrs. Hollander, but that's what precipitated the district to look for a stronger, more rigorous program. It is a robust program. The students are doing really well, and iReady helps us monitor, essentially taking the temperature along the way. And it's what it's saying to us is that we expect them to better perform.
But there is a correlation. There is a correlation.
And then in the past, when we did it really, so it looks promising, that we have a better sense of where our students are at now, and really hope to see that correlation to the state assessment as well. So
That's one of the reasons to select iReady as opposed to the old one that we had, because there is a stronger correlation. So how students are doing on iReady should translate over to Smarter Balance.
Thank you, Board of Education. Thank you, New Milford Community.
That's nice, thank you.
Thank you to our K-5 team for bringing the joy, as always. And also, I want to acknowledge Assistant Principal Adconis, Assistant Principal Serrera, and our K-5 Special Ed Coordinator, Ms. Clark.
Yeah, so real quick, I just want to piggyback on Dean's question. Really
Sure.
quick. When will we be finding out about those SBAC? SBAC, is that the right?
Smarter Balance Assessment Solution, yeah.
When-
Yeah, we don't take that until the spring.
Yes, we're not gonna, we take that, in April, and we get the results from that over, usually over the summer into the fall.
Yeah, usually like the first week of July.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
I could be wrong. Was there going to be further conversation on where we've been test score wise and where we're going through Committee on Learning or something like that? Is that coming up? I know that there was an overview on that. Was there going to be a deeper dive on that, I think? Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's our,
I just want to make
our
sure that
workshop.
we all know. We're having a workshop on that.
Yep,
So-
that's before the February 4th.
Exactly.
meeting. Yep.
Because I know that there's some questions there, and I want to make sure it's addressed. Thank you. We can go through a couple of line items in the budget book, if you're comfortable. I have a quick question for Anthony, perhaps. The ESSER moved the 0.5 from ESSER into general. What's the dollar amount on that you're using?
What year? I was,
For the Hill and Plain, I beg your pardon. We're moving that from ESSER into Hill and Plain at a 0.5. Do we have an earmarked dollar amount? Thank you, and that's all in? Like, that's everything? Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. We can just go through it. Hill and Plain first, if there's any particular page questions or concerns or just, general. We have the instructional math supplies are carried throughout this. Am I seeing that right? We're going from 0 to 18,000, things like that. It's embedded. That's carried throughout here as part of the supplies. Okay.
So there's 3 lines. From
Yes.
last year, we had only 2 lines, and I think what ended up happening is that 18,000 moved to line. It moved up, so it wasn't that it was any different amount. It just moved up.
So it's
Right, Kathy?
we're not adding it. It's just moved.
proper, in the.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
Add of $18,000.
Got it. Because I would imagine we'd have those, we're supporting that material, so. got it.
Last year's 2 lines was only 16,000.
I didn't even, no, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Any other questions in Hill and Plain? The actual budget pages, and of course, there's a lot here. If you have them noted already or catch them at another time, we'll go through them as well.
So that half FTE from the ESSER, that's on page, that's represented on page 12? And that object 51125?
The dollar amount, but the staffing also will be in the appendix.
So that's the dollar amount.
There's other, I think there's other in that line, I think differential as well.
That's third line up from page 12.
Yep.
Line item is going up 15.98%.
Yep, that's the one.
Right, not for the add, 5 there. That's what's baked in.
You got it. Okay. Bri?
I just have a question. I noticed that there's a special education at the end of it. Has that always been the case? I don't remember special education out this way.
Oh, where it says subtotal?
On page 12.
Yeah, page 12.
It's just I don't remember seeing the special education.
Oh, the operating expenses like that?
Yeah.
Yes, they have been the special education.
if you will.
There you go, Brian, come on.
No, that's all right, that's okay. Good question. And if I'm moving too quickly, just let me know, but obviously we want to make sure that all the questions are asked. We'll go on to Northville's next.
You want us to just go through?
If you have any, you've most likely perused and gone through your budget books on your own, and you have notations. So if you have any that jump out at you, please feel free to ask as we go through any section. If you see them and a question comes because of this presentation as well, please feel free. There's nothing. Let's see. Sarah Noble.
On page 23, those,
Thank you for the page, I appreciate that.
that helps. Those, that 1.5 addition from the ESSER, is that the, again, the object code 51115, top line? Is it ELO?
That's in there is one of the.
That's why it's the 150% increase.
Correct.
Because it's absorbing one whole
Correct.
piece,
It's one of them.
yes.
Yeah, one's Sarah Noble and one is Scotticoke.
And then the other half is on page 25 maybe, or?
Well, there's two of those pros, one is at Central, one is at Scott.
For ELL, correct. I think you're asking about the school counselor, Eric?
That's from Esther.
Yes. That's, yep, that's 0.5 of that counselor is going to the general fund.
So that's the 29.67, so that's the one that highlighted too.
So to be clear, that school counselor piece, a 0.5 is being taken from the original ESSER as a 1 and put into a 0.5 into the general fund, or how are we doing that?
So 0.5, it's already in the general fund, 0.5, it's on ESSER.
But you're taking the other 0.5 and putting it into the general fund.
Correct.
You're adding a 0.5 into the general fund.
For the counselors, maybe this ties back to, at some point, all the children that were involved in that mess with the masks and not being in school and stuff are going to be leaving the district. How is there an end to that in terms of the need?
I don't know, I mean, I would not personally just blame it on the pandemic schooling. I mean, there's a gigantic increase in anxiety in children and a lot of stress that was connected to the pandemic to a certain extent, but just generally speaking. So will there be less mental health need over time? I don't see it right now. I hope so. I hope that the counseling that we provide beginning in the lowest grades provides support so that we have fewer students with need. But to me, it's not just from COVID.
So this is more than just taking what was sold as a temporary need. And it's actually turned, there actually was a need already.
No doubt about that. Yes, no doubt about that.
I would say every year that I've been here, we've said that pre-COVID, someone who's been in the business for 30 years now, and
Yeah, I'd be happy, I'd send you actually some articles on that, if the board would like to see those, about what's going on here.
To that same point, though, the ESSER funds being allocated for the specialists, for the curriculum, you had mentioned some of the teachers weren't familiar with the curriculum that's going to help with the flow. Once the teachers are up to speed and they understand the curriculum, then it stands to reason that the specialists may not be needed.
Yeah, I mean, can that morph into something else? Sure, or do we need it anymore? Maybe not. Yeah, that's fair enough presumption to make.
I think that's the entire budget process, what we've done previous years and how we're changing and what we may increase or decrease accordingly on the needs of the district to that point.
It depends, sometimes there are mandates that surprise us, right? And so, the whole thing with the reading was, okay, this is what you guys are doing, and implement it now. And, that turned everything that we did upside down. Not in a bad way, but it just changed practice. So it's just one of those things to always consider.
I'm not sure if this is the time or the place, but I'm going to put out there a couple of things. As you know, because there's a lot in here, the appendices are very helpful on staffing. How many counselors we have, how many of each type of staff member we have throughout schools to give us a more condensed look of how we allocate our staff. But to your question, Eric, and I think to the boards and to the community, because it just as we look at our assessments and improvements and impact, I think it would be helpful to take a look at, you know, what we have support service-wise on a more global basis. We can see the numbers in here, we know the need, but when you put it together in one story, I think it does tell the story. As enrollment has declined over the years, we know that. Some of the needs in these areas have increased, without a doubt. Every year we hear the concerns by community, staff, you know, for support services in counseling, in social areas, and mental health. So I think if ever there's a time that we could perhaps at a board level really drill down on what we have to offer and how we offer it, I think that would be really helpful, because we do hear this every year, and I think it's a healthy conversation to have.
One of the best presentations I saw at an outside conference was how does a given district support their child, even with things like clubs that are offered, even with things like extracurricular, co-curricular activities, but also the mental health support, also ways that we connect students to school. And so, you know, having a presentation, we'd love to put that together about how do we support the whole child, whether it's a child who has significant need, not much need on the surface, all children who go to school districts. And what are the levels of support that are available, I think is a good idea for presentation.
Absolutely.
Okay. On the summary of budget reductions.
Where are, just tell me what page you're on, so I.
On the
They're
slide?
not, they're not.
The presentation?
Oh, that's oh, okay, yes. Sure.
The 4.0 reading and math interventionist, the 1.0 English language arts coordinator, and the
Yes.
one school counselor. How many of those positions are currently filled? Are they all filled?
All of them are filled.
So we did get the interventionists, even though they're difficult to find. We did get.
Tutors and interventionists are two different.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah. So we did get the interventionists.
Correct.
So these folks will all lose their jobs next year.
Well,
unless they get absorbed in with attrition.
or bumping rights, so within the contract. Yep. So yes. So we have retirements, as always. And we have, and some of those staff will have bumping rights for two less senior folks.
I guess maybe it's a question for the high school principal, and we can care about the wants and needs.
Sure. Well, we can go back to that as well. Absolutely. Do we have any other questions for our administrators here this evening? We always love this opportunity, so.
Thank you so much for presenting. I think it's so important to have our building administrators here presenting for their schools. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. I don't hear any other particular pages through the schools as presented this evening. We're going to move on to the next area, okay? And again, this is it's a process. It's a 4-day process. So any question, even if you think about it this evening, send it in and we'll make sure that it's answered to every board member and the community.
Back to presentations.
Okay, so we're moving on to transportation benefits revenue. That's an action-packed little ditty, but okay. And district-wide, so yep.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep.
Was that less
Mhm.
flashy areas of the budget?
Right.
Oh, yes.
Within the focus of your budget book,
Right.
department
Yoga. Department of General.
Department of General Administration.
Do you have any cues?
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk so loud.
Too early.
Okay.
These slides predominantly pull from the first page, but add some flavor at the bottom of those questions you might already have. So for transportation for next year, there's 3 lines here. One associated with stipends, one associated with carrier position. That's properly allocated to the transportation department. And our main driver is transportation bus contract. It's net for contract. The increase in general bus contract is 25, it's 4.5%. Also included in there are announced additional rounds for transportation drivers. As a result of hearing settlement with Board of Education. And also in that 5.23% increase in the last line, is additional funding for application bus tracking. That's this year's project. It's still being worked on with the bus company. It's not been deployed yet. Those 3 line items. Small number of buckets, large dollar amount.
So can I ask a couple questions? Okay. Remind me, what's in this current budget for that tracking, is it what, 30,000?
There are 2 pieces in there.
16, 14, something like that?
$7,500 piece that's being carried forward in this
Okay.
budget, and there is another piece that we use
Okay.
Swipe on.
for swiping on and off
Yeah.
that is not included in the superintendent's
Proposed.
budget.
Right, but it's open in this budget. Our current budget, it's open.
23, 24, it's over.
Exactly, our living budget, okay. So on the transportation piece, additional runs as well as contractual, okay? And pupil transportation to those, what does that mean exactly? That's not athletic, or that's separate? Just want to be clear on that. Is it possible to, I know that we've reviewed a little of this, is it possible to get the number of fleet that we have?
We can get the fleet though.
The fleet, exactly, is what, great, thank you. And that contract has 1 more year?
It's 3.
Year 2, year 3?
Year 2 of
It's a 5-year, correct?
Year 2 of 5.
Okay, thanks. Yes.
Correct. Yep.
That's a quick question here.
Sure, go ahead, I'm sorry.
For the tracking and the swiping, I'm a little concerned about that.
Oh.
The cost is one thing, which is the recurring cost also.
So swiping is not, just so you know, swiping is not in my proposed.
Okay, it's just the track.
App for the parents to say, uh-oh, the bus is 3 minutes away, better get outside.
Okay, so the swiping.
So there's a need for that then.
For the app?
Yeah.
It's
Because
a
what
lovely-
happens, the problem with an app is I'm a little concerned that we'll have it and then it'll be one more thing that goes down and just people are disappointed about it. Is it
Oh, me too. I mean, given the track record that we've had this
Yes,
year.
exactly. You know what I'm saying.
So, you know, this is a little off topic, but not really. They provided us with a sample app, and Anthony and I looked at it, and it was not sufficient.
Yeah.
And so we asked them to go back to the drawing board and find us another one.
So will we get a diminished return from this? The dollar amount, I mean, I don't want to pay for it. I'm not going to record any dollar amount. It's someone else's money. It's important to me. Will it just, is this going to be a headache?
So I have experience in another district with a bus app. It was wonderful for the parents. They really appreciated it. But I want the same level of quality in this district. And what they presented us the first time was not. So, and I won't budge from that.
But we have swipe and we have app, so.
Different.
They're two different things that we're referring to.
We're
That's
not
correct.
swiping. We're not going to have
Exactly.
everybody
Swiping
swiping
no
to
more.
get
No
on the bus.
swiping in here, but the app
is
is
in.
something that we're pursuing because it's in.
Correct.
And
And
it
it's
has
also,
to be at the level in which we thought that we were getting.
yeah, the caliber of the app should be worthy of the families in this school district, and what they presented to us already was not.
That's like 6K, what was it?
7,500, I think?
7,500.
Excuse me, what is swiping?
So swiping is, so let's say the student used their ID, so we would know each student who was actually on the
Every time
bus.
they get on and off the bus?
Yes.
That's swiping?
Yeah.
Yes.
First graders would be really good at that.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to put their lunch codes in, though. They
Yeah, they actually bought that. They'd be so excited to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to follow up, we are in the second year of our 5-year contract.
Thank you.
This year's the first year.
Second year.
23, 24, this is the first year, it wasn't the 20.
It's the second.
Yes.
We're currently, we're-
Yes.
Dr. Lep, back to Eric's point.
Yes.
Have they shown you an app yet that has met your satisfaction?
no,
So
absolutely
if
not.
they are not able to show you an app to your satisfaction, if this were to pass and they still were not able to, then we won't be funding this.
Yes,
We won't
well,
pay
that's
for
the
this.
situation that we're in right now. So we have the 7,500 in the 23, 24. But we have not spent it because the app that they showed us was not
Okay.
sufficient.
So it is, so last year was the same thing. We approved the app, we just didn't approve the swiping.
No,
and
in
they-
23, 24, swiping is in also. But for the proposed,
Oh, but you took it out.
Exactly. But there have been conversations that we'll be
Quality issues.
pursuing.
yes,
Fair enough?
indeed.
Indeed.
Thanks, Janet.
Yeah. Can I clarify the .5? Is that already in? Is it just being realigned?
Realigned.
That's what I thought. Okay. So it's cost neutral.
Yeah.
Just a thought, this is just me. In the future, if we have something like that, we might want to put cost neutral somewhere indicated, because for a person looking at our budget from the outside, it looks as it's an addition. It's just a realignment. It's a zero increase to the overall budget. I just want to put that on the record.
Any other questions on the transportation piece? None, on benefits.
Thank you.
So this is the page right through the budget.
Yeah.
Non-information year, we're talking about $12.7 million in
Mhm.
the top two lines, blanket Medicare, functions and payroll. You can see the projections we got there. Third line for pension. This is provided to the Board of Education and to the finance director. This is not an amount that I projected out. This is the unemployment insurance, the amount for next year's budget represents a decrease. We started taking on back in prior year's actuals. We're carrying surplus on disability, life, AD&P insurance, those are provided to us by our actuary and education. Those again, play numbers, APD, representing our administration. Last item for workers' comp, that's provided to us by provides consulting services.
did you say?
We did that on purpose.
Yeah, it's on the next page.
On purpose, okay.
It's on the next page.
So workers' compensation provides to my firm up to management consultant in town and skip over the largest item there.
Yep.
Health insurance. Wait first and see if there are any questions on benefits.
You are doing a separate piece on health insurance?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll wait for that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Sarah's
speak.
question.
Sorry.
Question about the increase in pension. What do you attribute that to? I'm thinking in terms of, that would go up if you have more teachers that you're paying into it for, right? But we haven't had a big increase in.
That's the town pension.
Yes, this is
That's not TRB.
It's not TRB.
So we have some employees contribute to the town pension and receive the town pension.
So,
Non-certified staff.
so do we have more non-certified staff than we had last year, and that's what the increase is?
Oh, Mayor is going to take time, yeah.
Town pension, the year before, the amount of return is much less than before. So this is to make up for that loss of return.
Thank you.
Based off the mayor said, I don't think it's a based on participation change so much as an investment. There's a lot of information on here. It's in your slide presentation, but this just shows the level of detail when we break out the budget. The driver version here for health insurance is the Sherman Town actuarial for health insurance. That's Brown. It's no longer Siegel. What they're telling us right now is projected for an increase of 7%. So that's one of those big drivers in the budget. That's one of those items that is impacting a lot of us. The worst part of it is 3.05% increase in medical care is a 7% increase in health insurance. Is that going to change? Because again, that's just a projection.
That's right.
There's several times where we get this last projection was in December. Sometimes late January, early February, between the board adopted and the town council sits down and takes a look at some type of indicators that change. Right now, 7% of us in the town are using as their projected insurance.
Can I, a couple things on that, because what this chart doesn't reflect is that, you know, the town and the board have spent a bazillion hours with insurance, breaking it down, having quarterly meetings, and talking to our actuaries about where we are with snapshots. So it truly is collaborative. We go with the best information at hand, and obviously we're in this together. Couple things. What's the public trend right now? Do we know? If the SPP is at 7%, do we know what the public trend is?
We can get that, though.
I looked, and I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's right, but I'd like to have that number as a comparison if I could, because then obviously if the number's higher, then you're taking our insurance number in the towns and you're adding that component to it. So it's still a cost savings initiative by far. The bottom remark here, Anthony, we have not used relief from the ISF for 3 budgets, I believe.
How many? 3?
At least, I think this might be year 3. Got it. Yep. And yeah, it's been a while, and we got away from that because the concern always is when you do that, you create a hole for the following year. That if you have 200,000 or 250 relief, you're starting the following year having to fill that gap. So it hasn't been reflected in the last couple of budget cycles. Right, because there are fees, it's true, but obviously everywhere, and it should be, the healthcare costs and premium costs they're a conversation in every municipality. That's why the SPP grew the way that it did, in order to avoid, a 13% trend and a more robust plan at that time. So I mention it only because it comes up in every other district, and we're trying to stay in front of it. True.
And that's what our actuary Brown is looking at and saying, how long should we remain on the state partnership? Is there better people to deliver health insurance to our employees, to get comparable services? Yes.
And to be fair, I've been pleased by the fact that we're trying to at least be a part of that very difficult conversation, because it's a lot of unpacking to do, you know, when you move around with those plans, so. But could you go back to the slide before it, the dollar amount, Anthony? Thank you. Any questions on the change, you guys? Sorry, go ahead.
A lot of information on this page. I've broken out some of the detail that's not in your budget book. Anticipating some questions we might have here, I'll run through the excess cost reimburses the district 1.5 times the allocation versus placed out of district. For both transportation and tuition. This will be adjusted going forward into next year. Expected 68% growth rate. This year was at 62%. We've oscillated between 62, 64, and 68% growth rate. The last time we used 68% was in 2019. So the actual payment provided two different payments, one in February, one in May. It's a long process, whereas all the students who are outplaced, threshold is $70,000. Milford pays for the full $70,000 when it's $70,000. $1 is reimbursable based on the 62 to 68% rate. Years where May has been increased to cap the state level of their ability to reimburse statewide. This is a multiplier because it's directly tied to tuition. This is also
But it's hard for us to budget for it because we don't know what they're going to provide for the reimbursement percentage from one year to the next.
I was thinking basically 18 months out of what enrollment placements there are and what expected placeholders there are and potential reimbursement on them. There's a projection with legislation that Medicaid reimbursement this year has just been adjusted based on current actuals. The FOI fees, this is an item in the budget that is below the budget for that has been zero collections. All FOI responsibilities on this was another legacy item for not fee. Prior year actuals. 22-23. So this is going to drop off the budget. Building use fees, this has been adjusted to be flat for several years. What we've done is taken the amounts for 22-23 actuals and expected 10%. These are going to have to be adjusted further to take into account this year. This is the first year we're actually we have 3 tuition pieces that we have: facility tuition, special education, DC tuition. First one, there was no flat rate here. We don't have positive indicators to change. The Excel tuition, we know that there's slate changes in kindergarten. Don't know how to plan on what cases. DCF placed tuition, with a flat year to year, 21-22, we reflected over into the current year, I don't think we have any tuition in special education. It's just, once the kids is there. That budget is flat for next year. The receipts, those are flat from last year, budget for next year. Last year, the board increased this amount by $7,000. Made adjustments to the West Day and fees based on more sport participation. That was just last year. We're not planning to adjust that further. Parking is the same 278 spots at $100 each. This one, in some past 30 years, was over $200 in the last 3 or 4 years. Proposed and board actions that now is coming out. There's still an expected revenue of $100 for permit.
Tammy, and then.
So, just two things. So the athletic gate receipts, does some of that reduction have to do with the fact that we allowed students to get in for free? Because I remember that was a big discussion last time too. They no longer have to pay, which is the right thing to do.
Right.
And now, also, for the parking permit fees, yeah, we started out, we have lowered that by over $100. It started at, I think, $215. Wasn't it $215?
I think our highest at one time, was it as high as 275?
The only thing I would put in 2022 is $215.
And then we brought it down, and then we brought it down again.
I think there was a proposed thing.
23 brought it down to 177, and then the board brought it down to 150, 22, 24, about 150, down to 100. And that's what we're projecting it to stay. So between 21, 22, and $250 today,
And both of those line items were due to parents, community members coming and speaking to the board about how they didn't think those two line items were fair. So we listened, and we have reduced them.
Just so I'm clear, are these, because it's called one thing on Dr. Colorado's hour requests, which says there's an $810,000 increase for out-of-district placement tuition. Which one of these is where we're earning the revenue for them coming into our district?
That's up here now.
Yes, but it's every single one of them. I mean, there's different things there. There's special ed districts. So are they all inclusive in yours, by the way, Dr. Parlato? Are you including all of those special ed and everything? In terms of, I'm just trying to figure out.
So mine is different. This is money that's coming into us.
Correct.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to balance apples to apples here. So we're it looks like to me that we're not bringing in as many students as we are paying for them to go into other districts.
That's accurate.
Okay.
Yes.
How do we validate who comes here? Because I have just a suspicion that, you know, there could be folks that come here that maybe don't pay taxes into New Milford, but have. So do we verify their address? What do we do? What exactly are the steps?
We have a whole sheet about how we do residency and verify it that I can send out once I write that down. Yes.
That'd be
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
2 or 3
frame
pages.
that.
Yeah, that's a little
Film
different. Yeah.
shouldn't be sufficient, right? So, like, nowadays, the technology is too good to be able to send something.
We'll send that out to the board so you can see our residency verification.
And also the money that we take, that the town takes in for Sherman kids that choose to come here and so forth is not reflected in our budget. It goes to the town. And that confuses people sometimes, so we won't see that revenue come in. Correct, Wendy? Wendy, I'm correct?
That goes to the town. The excess cost obviously is in tandem with the placements and that ratio, correct? Right. Yep.
The next 3 slides deal with direct department business, general administration. The first one is mine, fiscal services. Up top is the staff that's allocated to fiscal services. These also captured in appendix C of the budget book.
Right.
The line line items that go down, we have, laundry increase along with text. The first one is the third line down. That includes, non-certified positions in the department. It would also be alignment, salary amount for the payroll position, which was adopted by the board recently. Auditing services account. That number comes to us, finance versus, I'm sorry, that 7.82% includes, contractual salary for my department, as well as the change in the salary for the payroll position. Next line item down is the 272 increase. That's our Affordable Care Act reporting fee, which books services and our units. Next line down, 4.93% increase. That is for our auditing services that we share with the town. That's not the difference, not finance director. It's another number that's not affected here. The next 5 line items down are all flat. The last item for lack of cyber insurance going up 9.88%. 20,000 of that is specifically for the cyber insurance. It's not Colorado identified it as a number. And the other $8,719 there is based on a 3% increase. Liability or property insurance. That's being per month. That's part of our 3-year rate lock guarantee. For the 3% increase. Not necessarily tomorrow for your hearing, but definitely before.
Sure.
Any questions on this?
Move on to the board's budget here. Represents an increase of 1.29%. Staff and support clerk. Salary line item, there is a reduction there. The budget that we did for this year is too much. Budget for next year, probably funds the position. Line item for legal services is going up based on projection. Negotiating bargaining units in the spring, paras, secretaries, and nurses. Professional services line. This showed a decrease in prior year's budgets. There was amount in for police presence at board meetings and budget hearings. The next line down for advertising, that's there, plus the actuals. It's not showing this page, but it's spending about $45 million. It's there to run a grant. This is for the uptick in bids and notices. Next line I'm down to about $20,000. That's for our paying fees for board members and the packets. We're getting paid this year. $20,000 a year. Last 2 items, 0% increase.
I have a question. I don't know if we can get it. Do you know how many districts in state are members of this group?
I can get that.
Thank you.
Last slide for tonight. The office of superintendent the proposed budget represents a small increase of 1%. Staffing the superintendent. The salary lines in the contract. Changing postage lines based on the actual budget over the year. That's not the slide, it's just the page, 5-year actuals. Small reduction in outlays. It's really not based on the actual when you look at your budget paragraph. This year's at 95,000 snapshots that are flushed out these slides just provide detail why we're asking for it.
Okay, any questions on all this? Nope, I don't hear any, and thank you, Anthony, for all that, and if we think of any, we'll get them to you. As I said, we'll keep a tally of those lists, and what we usually do is any questions that come forward, sometimes when they're addressed publicly, and we also put them on our website. You know, so everyone has the same answer. I think that concludes our,
Can I ask a question on the questions?
oh, sure.
If someone has a question.
Yes.
Do you just email it to Janet?
Email Dr. Parlato and myself, and we'll make sure that everybody, we bring it forward. That would be great. And sometimes, depending on the nature of the question, allow us some time, because it may need a little bit of drill down, but absolutely, put it out there.
Always make sure you have it before board adoption vote.
That's the point.
Yeah, we'll make sure you have it by next Wednesday.
You want to make sure that board adoption is on Wednesday, and so you want to make sure that you have all the information possible. I am going to thank everyone for coming out this evening, public, staff, elected officials, and open it up for an opportunity for the public to be heard. Again, after the public, should they choose to speak, and we hope that they do, we will recess until tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'm so sorry, the day. Yes, tomorrow at 7 p.m. All righty. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board? Get all these copies.
Good evening, Megan Bird, 2 Carlson Road. I just had a couple of questions, and I know you're not going to respond to me.
Put them on the record, Megan, and get them to you, okay?
So in Dr. Carlotta's presentation, there were 2 sections. One is the absolute fixed cost insurance, all those things you can't touch. That's great. The ESSER funds, the funds that you were requesting to keep from ESSER, the ELL increase was cited as the reason to keep the ELL funds in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, ELL was mandated that you have to have a certain number of staff per your population. If I'm wrong about that, then go ahead and correct me. So wouldn't that actually be considered a mandated amount as well that has to be part of the non-negotiable increase? Was kind of where I was going. Recommendation. Decided to take those out. So I just wanted to specify that. And I would think the same for the nurse that's for a specific special needs population. If that's mandated by IEP, I would think again, it's mandated, it should be listed somewhere. So that the public understands that you're not requesting those things, you have to have them if they're mandated. I just would love to see that. In previous years, we've had that clarification that these are actually mandated by the state for those things. So if we were going to make cuts to this proposed budget, it's not going to be for those things. It would be for other things. And just to reiterate some of the comments that I've heard tonight from board members, there still is a huge need for the counseling. So why were you considering putting one of those positions? I don't know. I would think that we would really try and work that to stay as being one of the things that we need to see stay in our schools. And those are the things that's
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to approach the board? Okay, so we are now going to recess at 9:06. We'll be back here tomorrow evening at any time. Reach out to us if you need anything, and as I mentioned, we'll have copies available for everyone. Thank you, Dr. Parlato, and thank you, board members and everyone else.